My name is Ella Obannon, and I'm 31 years old. The last time I saw my father, he handed me an invoice. Not a birthday card, not a hug, an actual invoice, printed on his company letterhead, itemized with principal and 8% annual interest, due in 30 days. $6,500. The amount I'd borrowed 6 months earlier when my startup collapsed and I couldn't make rent. He handed it to me at his 62nd birthday dinner, in front of 15 relatives at Fleming's Steakhouse in Phoenix, right after my little brother Tyler offered to pay it off, so Dad doesn't have to be embarrassed anymore. Then my father said the words I'll never forget. "You'll be 50 and still asking for handouts. I'm done being your ATM. Don't come back until you can stand on your own 2 feet." I walked out that night with $127 in my bank account and a maxed-out credit card. 18 months later, I walked back in and handed him a check for $95,000 in front of everyone he works with. This is how I got there. I arrived at Fleming's at 7:15 p.m. on a Saturday in September. The restaurant smelled like steak and old money, the kind of place my father chose because he wanted people to know he could afford it. I'd driven from my studio apartment in Glendale with a $40 cologne set from Target wrapped in blue paper, hoping this year would be different. It wasn't. The family was already seated at a long U-shaped table near the windows. My father, Gregory, sat at the head, my stepmother, Linda, beside him, Tyler and his fiancée Cassidy to his right, 4 aunts and uncles, 6 cousins I barely knew. 15 people total, all dressed like they were celebrating something important. Tyler saw me first. He raised his beer and said, loud enough for the table to hear, "Oh, look, she actually showed up. Dad, you owe me $20. A few people laughed. I set the gift on the empty chair beside me and sat down. I should have known something was wrong when my father didn't make eye contact during the toast. 6 months earlier, I'd called my father at 11:47 p.m. on February 28th. My startup, a marketplace app connecting real estate agents with freelance photographers, had just collapsed after 11 months. I'd burned through $12,000 in savings, couldn't pay my suppliers, and my landlord, Mrs. Pacheco, had already given me one warning. Rent was $850. I had $340 in my account. "Dad," I said, my voice shaking, "I need to borrow money, just until I get back on my feet." There was a long silence on the other end. "How much?" he finally asked. $6,500. Another pause. "This is the last time, Ella," he said. "And I mean it, last time." The money hit my account the next morning, along with a text. "Sign the agreement I'm sending over. This is a loan, not a gift." He made me sign a piece of paper. At the time, I thought it was just his accountant brain being thorough. The appetizers had just arrived when my father stood up. Everyone quieted down, expecting a thank you speech, or maybe a story about his upcoming retirement from Deloitte. Instead, he reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a white envelope. He walked over to me and set it on the table in front of my plate. "Ella borrowed money from me 6 months ago," he said, his voice calm and professional. "I'm formally requesting repayment, 30 days. That's more than fair." I opened the envelope with shaking hands. Inside was an invoice printed on Deloitte letterhead. Invoice number 00284. Principal, $6,500. Interest, 8% annual, 6 months, $260. Total due, $6,760. Due date, 30 days from receipt. The table went silent. Even the waiter froze mid-pour. Tyler broke the silence. "Dad, come on," he said, shaking his head. "She obviously can't pay that. I'll cover it. Early birthday gift for you. You shouldn't have to chase her down." Cassidy nodded beside him, her hand on his arm. My father looked at Tyler and smiled. "That's very kind, son," he said. Tyler pulled out his phone. "Seriously, Dad, let me Venmo you right now. End of problem." I looked around the table. 4 aunts and uncles stared at their plates. My cousins checked their phones. Linda sipped her wine and said nothing. I waited for my father to say no, to defend me. He didn't. I set the invoice down carefully and looked at my father. I'll pay it myself, I said. He smiled, not warmly, but like he'd just won something. You'll be 50 and still asking for handouts, he said. I'm done being your ATM. Don't come back until you can stand on your own 2 feet. The words landed like a slap. You've had 31 years to figure your life out, Ella, he continued. I'm not waiting another 30. I looked at my mother. My biological mother wasn't there. She'd divorced him when I was 12. I looked at Linda, hoping for something. She looked at her wine glass. Tyler leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, waiting to see what I'd do. I stood up. I called the waiter over and asked for a separate check. Just for my iced tea. $14. I paid with a $20 bill and waved off the change. I picked up the invoice, folded it carefully, and put it in my purse. Then I looked at my father one last time. Happy birthday, Dad, I said. I walked toward the door. Tyler called after me. Ella, don't be dramatic. I kept walking. I didn't cry. I just asked for the check, the restaurant check, and left. I sat in my 2009 Honda Civic in the parking lot for 15 minutes. The engine was off. The lights from Fleming's Steakhouse glowed orange through my windshield. I opened my banking app. Balance, $127.83. Credit card debt, $8,200. Rent due in 6 days, $850. I pulled the invoice out of my purse and stared at it. $6,760, due in 30 days. The math was impossible, but I'm good at impossible. I'd just never had a reason to prove it before. Tyler and I grew up in the same house, but we lived in different worlds. Tyler was the golden child from the start, straight A's, captain of the soccer team, full-ride scholarship to Arizona State for computer science, $92,000 over 4 years. My father framed the acceptance letter and hung it in his office. I was creative, a B+ student. I went to community college for 2 years and then transferred to Arizona State for business. I graduated with $28,000 in student loans and a GPA of 3.24. When I was 19 and Tyler was 15, my father looked at my report card and said, "Why can't you be more like your brother? He doesn't need me to bail him out." My father framed Tyler's scholarship letter. Mine went in a drawer. Tyler graduated in 2019 and got hired by Intel Phoenix immediately. Starting salary, $76,000. 3 years later, he was promoted to senior software engineer at $89,000 a year. Last year at 27, he bought a house in Tempe, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, $340,000. He proposed to Cassidy, an elementary school teacher, with an $8,500 ring. My father told everyone, at every family barbecue, every holiday dinner, every chance he got. Tyler just closed on his house, he'd say, loud enough for me to hear. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. He's 27. He never mentioned that I'd helped Tyler move, or that Tyler forgot to say thank you. I graduated in 2016 at 24. I got a job as a junior real estate agent at Coldwell Banker Phoenix. Base salary, $38,000 plus commission. My first year, I made $41,000 total. My second year, $44,000. By year 3, I thought I'd figured something out. Realtors needed photographers. Photographers needed clients. I built a marketplace app to connect them. I quit my job. I spent 11 months and $12,000 building it. It failed. When I asked my father for the loan to cover rent, I pitched it like a business case. It's a viable market, Dad, I said. Realtors need photographers. Photographers need clients. Viable, he interrupted. That's a word people use when they don't have customers. I thought if I could just show him one success, he'd see me differently. In my father's home office, there's a glass cabinet filled with Tyler's achievements, trophies, certificates, his college diploma, photos of him at Intel's headquarters. My stuff? One photo from my high school graduation in 2012, pushed to the back behind a frame of Tyler. Our mother, my biological mother, divorced Gregory when I was 12. She moved to California. We talk on holidays. My Aunt Diane once whispered to me at a family gathering, "You look just like your mother, honey. That's not a compliment in this house." I'd spent 19 years trying to be someone my father could love. I was starting to think it wasn't possible. Here's how I knew. When Tyler got promoted at Intel, my father printed the congratulations email and put it on the fridge with a magnet shaped like the Arizona flag. It stayed there for 8 months. When I closed my first big real estate sale, a $220,000 home, $6,600 in commission, I gave my father my business card, proud, hopeful. I found it in the kitchen trash 2 days later. Coffee grounds on it. I stopped bringing my wins home after that. What was the point? 2 weeks before the birthday dinner, we had a Sunday family meal at my father's house. Tyler announced his engagement to Cassidy. My father opened a $180 bottle of Dom Perignon he'd been saving. He raised his glass and toasted them both. Everyone clapped. Then he looked at me. "When are you going to get serious about your life, Ella?" he asked. I set my fork down. "I am serious, Dad. I'm rebuilding." "Rebuilding what?" he interrupted. "You never built anything in the first place." Tyler refilled his champagne glass and smiled. He didn't defend me. He just smiled and said nothing. Tyler didn't defend me. He just smiled and refilled his glass. "I need you to understand. I didn't want to borrow that money. My startup had failed in February. Rent was due March 1st. I had $340 in my account and needed $850. My landlord, Mrs. Pacheco, had already warned me once about being late. My credit cards were maxed. I had no savings left. I called my father at 11:47 p.m. on February 28th because I had no other choice. He agreed to lend me the money, but he made it clear this was a transaction. 6 months, he said over the phone, 8% interest. And Ella, this proves my point. You can't manage money. I said thank you. He said, "Don't make me regret this." I already knew I would. I got back to my studio apartment in Glendale at 8:40 p.m. It was 420 square feet. 1 room, a bathroom the size of a closet. Rent? $850 a month. I sat on the floor and stared at the invoice on my coffee table. I opened my laptop and Googled how to make $6,000 in 30 days legally. I opened 47 tabs. I read articles about side hustles, freelance gigs, selling plasma. Nothing added up. The math didn't work. I cried for 12 minutes. Then I stopped. I looked at the invoice again and made a decision. If I stay in Phoenix, I said out loud to no one, I'll always be the failure daughter. If I leave, I can be anyone. I opened my contacts. One name, Brenda Kowalski, my last hope. Brenda was my mentor from Coldwell Banker. She'd been in real estate for 28 years before retiring to Denver in 2021. Now she was an angel investor, funding small startups in prop tech. I called her at 10:15 p.m. Arizona time, 11:15 p.m. in Denver. She answered on the second ring. "Ella?" she said. "You okay?" "No," I said. "I need to disappear." There was a pause. "How fast can you pack?" she asked. I told her everything: the invoice, the birthday dinner, Tyler's offer, my father's words. Brenda listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said, "Ella, listen to me. Phoenix is killing you. Come to Denver. I have a spare room, and I have an idea you're going to want to hear." I hung up and started packing. I didn't tell anyone. From 11 p.m. to 3 a.m., I packed my entire life into 2 suitcases and 1 backpack. I left the furniture. It wasn't worth anything. I took my laptop, my clothes, my documents, and 3 framed photos. None of them were of my father. At 3:30 a.m., I wrote a note to Mrs. Pacheco, my landlord. Mrs. Pacheco, I'm sorry to leave this way. Keep the deposit for September. Thank you for your patience. Ella. I taped it to the counter. The $850 deposit would cover breaking the lease. At 4:30 a.m., I loaded everything into my Honda Civic. I looked at my phone. 3 texts from Tyler. I turned it off. I left Phoenix at 5:18 a.m. The route: I-17 north to Flagstaff, I-40 east, I-25 north to Denver, 820 miles total, 12 hours of driving with breaks. I listened to podcasts, How I Built This, and didn't let myself think. I stopped in Flagstaff for gas, $43. I stopped in Albuquerque for lunch. Subway, $8.50. I didn't think about my father. I didn't think about Tyler. I focused on one thing: just drive. Every mile felt like I was shedding skin. By the time I crossed into Colorado at 3:40 p.m., I could breathe again. I'd never felt more alone. Or more free. I arrived at Brenda's house in the Wash Park neighborhood at 6:05 p.m. Brenda was 58, with short gray hair and the kind of warm smile that made you feel like everything might actually be okay. She greeted me with a hug and showed me to the spare room. It was bigger than my entire studio in Phoenix. We ordered Thai takeout, $28, Brenda's treat, and ate on her back porch. She didn't ask about my family. She just said, "Tonight, you rest. Tomorrow, we build." I slept 11 hours straight. When I woke up, I had 16 missed calls from Tyler. The next morning at 9 a.m. Mountain Time, I turned my phone back on. 16 missed calls from Tyler, 7 from my father, 3 voicemails. I listened to Tyler's first. "Where the hell are you, Sad?" he said, his voice sharp. "Dad's pissed. You just left? Grow up, Ella." The second voicemail was from my father. Cold, detached. "I assume you're not paying me back," he said. "Noted." The third was a text from Tyler, sent at 11:32 p.m. the night I left. "We're better off without your drama." I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I blocked Tyler's number. Then I blocked my father's. I was done explaining myself. At 10 a.m., Brenda made coffee in a French press and sat me down at her kitchen table. "I've been watching small investors struggle with real estate data for years," she said. "Zillow and Redfin are great for buyers, but they're terrible for investors who need cash flow projections, rental comps, tax implications. What if there was a tool?" I looked up. "Like a platform?" She nodded. "Exactly. You know real estate. You know startups. You know what not to do now. And I have money. Let's build something." I stared at her. "You want to start a company?" I asked. "With me?" She smiled. "I want you to start a company. I'll fund it. I'll mentor you. But this is yours, Ella. You're the founder." I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Hope. Brenda said 3 words. "Come to Denver." I was on I-25 north by sunrise. 2 weeks after I arrived in Denver, I got 3 part-time jobs. Starbucks. Barista. 20 hours a week at $15 an hour. Shipped grocery delivery. 15 hours a week, averaging $18 an hour. Virtual assistant for 2 real estate agents. 10 hours a week at $22 an hour. Total, 45 hours of work. But I picked up extra shifts. Most weeks I worked 68 hours. My income, roughly $755 a week. About $3,270 a month before taxes. After taxes, I took home $2,650. Rent to Brenda, $400. Food, $280. Car and insurance, $180. That left me with $1,790. On September 28th, exactly 4 weeks after the birthday dinner, I sent my father the first payment, $542.17. I included no message, just the transaction number. He never replied, not once. I worked 68-hour weeks and fell asleep with my shoes on. But I paid myself first, $542.17 to Gregory. Every month, electronically. I created a spreadsheet called Debt to Gregory. Total owed, $6,760. Principal plus the interest he'd invoiced. Monthly payment, $542.17. If I kept it up, I'd be done in 12.5 months. I tracked every single payment. I also had a separate tab for my credit card debt, $8,200, where I made minimum payments of $160 a month. My student loans? Deferred. Brenda looked at my spreadsheet one night and frowned. "You're paying him back?" she asked. "Ella, he doesn't deserve—" "It's not about what he deserves," I said. "It's about what I deserve." Every payment was a countdown. 12 to go, then 11, then 10. In early October, 4 weeks into my rebuild, Brenda sat me down with a formal pitch. "Property Pulse," she said, sliding a one-page outline across the table. The concept, a SaaS platform for small real estate investors. You input a property address, and Property Pulse generates a detailed report, rental comps, cash flow projections, tax deductions, neighborhood trends, ROI calculator, everything an investor needs in one place. Pricing, $49 a month for unlimited reports, or $29 for a single property report. Brenda's offer, $25,000 in angel investment. She'd take 18% equity, I'd keep 35%. The remaining 47% would go to a technical co-founder and future hires. "I'll put in $25,000, she said. "You put in sweat. We find a developer who'll work for equity, 6 months to beta. Deal?" I looked at her. "Deal," I said. She didn't ask if I could do it. She asked when I was starting. I needed a technical co-founder, someone who could build the platform, someone I trusted. I called James Callahan. James was my ex-husband. We'd been married from 2017 to 2020. We'd divorced amicably. No kids, no drama, just two people who'd grown apart. He was a software developer at Oracle in Denver, making $95,000 a year. I pitched him over coffee. 15% equity, I said, vesting over 2 years. Nights and weekends until we can pay you. I know it's a lot to ask. James stirred his coffee and smiled. "You were always the one with guts," he said. "I'll do it." We shook hands like business partners. "If this works," he said, "we'll have built something together after all, just different than we planned." It felt right. My ex-husband became my co-founder. We shook hands like business partners. It felt right. November and December were brutal. I worked my 3 part-time jobs during the day, then from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m., sometimes 2 a.m. I worked on Property Pulse, 4 to 5 hours every single night. Brenda handled business development and market research. James coded the back-end in Python and built the front end in React. I designed the UI in Figma, wrote all the copy, and created investor persona profiles. Our goal? Launch an MVP by January. I worked through Thanksgiving. I didn't call my family. On November 28th, I sent payment number 3 to my father. $542.17. No response. One night in early December, I was so tired I poured coffee into my cereal bowl instead of milk. James laughed for 10 minutes. By December, I'd lost 9 pounds and gained something I didn't have in Phoenix: purpose. In mid-December, we hit a wall. The API provider we needed for housing comp data wanted $800 a month, way over budget. Brenda's $25,000 was going fast. LLC setup, $1,200. Servers, $180 a month. Development tools, $340 a month. Legal fees, $2,500. We couldn't afford $800 a month for data. James found an alternative: scraping public records. It was legal, but slow. It would delay our MVP launch from January to February. "We're already behind," I said, frustrated. James shook his head. We're not behind. We're building something that lasts. There's a difference. I wanted to quit. Instead, I sent payment number 4 to my father. 10 payments to go. In late January, we launched the MVP beta version, invite only. We had 12 beta testers, all from Brenda's network. We charged them nothing. We just wanted feedback. The first report took 4.7 minutes to generate. The data was accurate, clean, useful. One of our beta testers, an investor from Boulder, sent us an email. I've been doing these calculations manually for 2 years. This just saved me 6 hours. When can I pay you? I printed the email and taped it to my wall. It was one testimonial, but it was proof. We weren't crazy. By the end of January, I hadn't spoken to my father or Tyler in 4.5 months. I was curious. I hated that I was curious. I checked Tyler's Instagram. It was public, photos from Christmas. Tyler, Cassidy, and my father around a tree. New furniture in Tyler's house. An engagement party with 40 guests. No mention of me. I asked Brenda to check my father's Facebook. I was blocked, but she could see it. His most recent post. Proud of my son, the engineer, grateful for family. My son, singular. Brenda looked at me. You okay? Yeah, I said. I just wanted to see if he noticed I was gone. He didn't. I paid him $542.17 every month. Electronically, no note, just the transaction number. He never replied, not once. In early February, 5 months after I'd left Phoenix, Brenda connected me with the Denver Real Estate Tech Collective. It was a group of 8 angel investors who met monthly to hear pitches from prop tech startups. Brenda got me a slot. February 12th, 6:30 p.m. at a WeWork in Lodo. I had 10 minutes to pitch, 15 slides, our metrics, 12 beta users, 47 reports generated, $0 in revenue. Yet. Total addressable market, $2.3 billion in the US alone. They're tough, Brenda said, but if you get even one yes, you're funded. Just be you, the you that drove to Denver with $100. I practiced the pitch 63 times. I still threw up in the bathroom 5 minutes before. At 6:28 p.m., I walked into the conference room. 8 investors sat around a long table. 6 men, 2 women, ages ranged from early 40s to mid-60s. They had notebooks, laptops, coffee. Brenda sat in the back row. Moral support. I connected my laptop to the projector, pulled up slide 1, and looked at them. My name is Ella Obannon, I said. 5 months ago, I had $127 in my bank account and a father who told me I'd never stand on my own 2 feet. Today, I'm here to show you why he was wrong. Slide 2. Property Pulse solves a $2.3 billion problem. Small investors don't have access to institutional-grade data. We're democratizing real estate analysis. One investor, gray beard, glasses, leaned forward. That's when I knew I had a shot. The Q&A was brutal. An investor named Stephanie spoke first. You have 0 revenue. Why should we invest? Because our beta users are asking to pay, I said. We're launching a paid tier March 1st. A man named Dan. What's your moat? What stops Zillow from doing this? Zillow doesn't care about the $50,000 investor, I said. We do. That's our moat. We're building for a segment they ignore. Then Ron, the gray-bearded investor, asked the question that mattered. Why you? He said. I paused. Because I've failed before, I said. I know what kills startups. Ego and ignorance. I have neither. I have hunger. Ron wrote something down. I couldn't tell if it was good or bad. After the pitch, the investors asked Brenda and me to wait in the lobby while they deliberated. 47 minutes. I drank 3 cups of water from the cooler. I paced. I checked my phone. That morning, I'd sent payment number 6 to my father. $542.17. Still no reply. At 7:34 p.m., an assistant opened the door and called us back in. Brenda whispered, Whatever they say, you already won. You showed up. I held my breath. Ron spoke first. "We're in," he said, conditionally. I exhaled. The offer, $25,000 in additional funding from the collective. Combined with Brenda's investment, that brought the total to $50,000. Pre-money valuation, $280,000. They'd take 18% equity collectively. Post-deal, Ella at 35%, James at 15%, investors at 36%, future team pool at 14%. The conditions: we needed to hit $5,000 in monthly recurring revenue by June, and Ron would take an advisory board seat. "You've got grit," Ron said. "That's rarer than good ideas. We're betting on you, not the deck." I shook his hand. My palm was sweating. I didn't care. Outside the WeWork at 8:10 p.m., Brenda hugged me. It was the first time I'd cried happy tears in months. "You did it, kid," she said. "We did it," I said. We went to a taco place called Uno Mas and celebrated. The tab was $52. Brenda paid. She raised her beer. "To standing on your own 2 feet." I clinked my glass against hers. "Your father has no idea who you're becoming," she said. "His loss." I smiled. The lawyer said, "Congratulations, Ms. Obannon," and I excused myself to the bathroom and sobbed for 6 minutes. The week after the pitch, everything changed. James quit his job at Oracle. He went full-time on Property Pulse. No salary yet. We'd defer pay until we had revenue, but he was all in. I quit Starbucks. I kept my shipped shifts part-time for cash flow, but I cut my hours in half. Brenda mentored us on business development. We set a new goal: 100 paying customers by May. At $49 a month average, that would get us to $4,900 in monthly recurring revenue, just shy of the $5,000 target. James looked at me across the table one night and said, "I'm all in, let's build this thing right." She didn't ask if I could do it, she asked when I was starting. On March 1st, we launched the paid tier. Pricing: $49 a month for unlimited reports, or $29 for a single property report. Our marketing strategy was simple. Brenda sent emails to 850 contacts in her network. I posted on LinkedIn. James shared it in 2 Facebook groups for real estate investors. Week 1, 18 signups, $882 in monthly recurring revenue. Week 2, 11 more signups, $1,421 MRR. By the end of March, we had 43 paying customers and $2,107 in MRR. We weren't at $5,000 yet, but we were moving. On March 8th, a customer emailed us. "I analyzed 3 properties in 1 hour. This paid for itself instantly." I saved that email. I read it every time I doubted myself. From April to June, my life looked like this. Wake up at 4 a.m. Code and design Property Pulse features until 7 a.m. Shipped grocery deliveries from 8 to 11 a.m. I made about $280 a week. Lunch, 30 minutes. Then customer support emails for Property Pulse, 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Product development, building features, testing, iterating. Dinner, 30 minutes, 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. Marketing, content, partnerships. Sleep at 11:30 p.m. Repeat, 7 days a week. I was tired in my bones, but I'd never been more alive. James looked at the code at 2 a.m. one night and said, "This might actually work." Might. That was enough. On June 14th, Property Pulse hit $5,020 in monthly recurring revenue. We had 103 customers. I emailed Ron, our advisor. "We hit your milestone." He replied 18 minutes later. "Congratulations. Most startups die before this. You're not most startups. Now get to 10. Brenda opened a $22 bottle of champagne from Trader Joe's. That same day, I sent payment number 10 to my father. $542.17. 2 payments left. In July, we lost 14 customers. Our churn rate spiked to 13.6%. Most of them said the same thing. Too expensive. Not enough features. Our MRR dropped to $4,361. I panicked. We called an emergency meeting. Brenda, James and me. We decided to add a new feature, neighborhood crime data integration. And we created an annual plan, $470 a year, which worked out to $39 a month, a 20% savings. We're going backwards, I said, frustrated. James shook his head. No, we're learning what they need. This is progress. I wanted to throw my laptop. Instead, I rewrote the roadmap. In August, Brenda connected us with the Colorado Property Investors Network, a regional investment club with 340 members. They offered us a deal, a discounted group rate of $39 a month for their members, and we'd sponsor one of their monthly events for $500. 28 members signed up in the first week. Our MRR jumped to $5,850. Testimonials started flooding in. The club president emailed us, "Our members love this. Can we do a webinar?" We went from dying to thriving in 3 weeks. Momentum is a hell of a drug. On August 28th, exactly 12 months after I'd sent the first payment, I sent the final payment to my father, $542.17. Total paid over 12 months, $6,506.04. The invoice had been for $6,760, but I'd calculated interest differently than he had. I overpaid by $253.96 just to be safe. I wrote in the memo line, "Paid in full." I blocked his email. Then I unblocked it. I wanted to see if he'd reply. 3 days passed. Nothing. 12 payments. 12 months. Not one reply. I was free. But it felt hollow. I'd paid him back. Now I wanted him to see what I'd built without him. By October, 14 months after I'd left Phoenix, Property Pulse was exploding. We'd been featured on 3 niche real estate podcasts. An article about us ran on Bigger Pockets, a blog with 80,000 readers. We had 290 paying customers, $14,210 in MRR. I finally started paying myself a salary, $4,200 a month. Modest, but it meant I could quit Shipped. James was making $5,000 a month. We hired our first employee, a part-time customer support rep at $18 an hour. The headline of the Bigger Pockets article: Property Pulse, the tool small investors didn't know they needed. We were profitable, barely, but we were real. On November 3rd, I woke up to an email that changed everything. Subject: Property Pulse Partnership Inquiry. From Nathan Wilder, partner at Sierra Ventures. Sierra Ventures was an early-stage VC firm focused on PropTech. I Googled them immediately. 42 exits. $1.2 billion under management. Nathan's email was short. We invest in founders who solve real problems. Your growth curve is impressive. Let's talk. I stared at the screen. Brenda's advice: take the meeting. This was real. On November 9th at 2 p.m., I got on a Zoom call with Nathan. He was in his 40s, casual but sharp. He asked good questions. Customer acquisition cost? About $28 per customer. Lifetime value? Around $640. Churn rate? Down to 6.2%. What's your roadmap? What's your team like? I was honest. We're scrappy, I said. We don't have everything figured out, but our customers don't churn because we listen. Nathan leaned back in his chair. I don't invest in perfect, he said. I invest in resilient. You've been through hell and you're still here. That's the signal. At the end of the call, he said, I'd like to move forward with due diligence. I muted my mic and screamed. From November 10th to December 18th, 5 weeks, we went through due diligence. Nathan's team requested everything. Financials, every transaction, our cap table, customer contracts, code audits, background checks on me, James, and Brenda. They interviewed 12 of our customers. It was brutal. I worked 90-hour weeks, running Property Pulse and handling due diligence requests. We hired a lawyer. Legal fees, $8,500. paid from revenue. James said one night at midnight, "If they ask for one more spreadsheet, I'm moving to a cabin." On December 18th, Nathan's assistant sent a calendar invite. Term sheet discussion. My hands shook. On December 20th at 10 a.m., we got on a call with Nathan. He opened with, "We're making you an offer, $850,000 investment for 40% equity. Pre-money valuation, $2.125 million. Post-money valuation, $2.975 million. The breakdown? Ella, 35% to 21% post-deal. Paper value, roughly $624,000. James, 15% to 9%. Brenda and Angels, 36% to 21.6%. Sierra Ventures, 40%. Board of Directors, 3 seats. Me, Nathan, 1 independent director. Standard 4-year vesting." Nathan smiled. "This values Property Pulse at over $2 million. You've built something significant, Ella." I asked for 24 hours to think. I called Brenda. She said one word. Yes. On December 22nd, Brenda, James, and I met with our lawyer, Sarah Eng, in downtown Denver. We reviewed the final documents, 47 pages. Sarah walked us through every section. At the end, she looked at me and said, "Congratulations, you're officially venture-backed." She opened a $60 bottle of champagne in her office. I cried. Happy tears. My first thought, my father said I'd never make it. My second thought, I just made it. Sarah raised her glass. "You're now worth over $500,000 on paper, Ms. Obannon. Not bad for 18 months. The lawyer said, "Congratulations, Ms. Obannon," and I excused myself to the bathroom and sobbed for 6 minutes. On Christmas Eve, I was alone in Denver. Brenda was visiting family in Florida. I sat in my apartment and reflected. 15 months ago, I'd had $127 in my bank account. Now I had equity worth $624,000 on paper, a salary of $4,200 a month, rising to $7,000 in January. A profitable, venture-backed company. I thought about my father. I hadn't spoken to him in 15 months. I wondered if he knew. I checked Tyler's Instagram. A Christmas photo. My father, Tyler, and Cassidy in front of a tree. The caption, "Blessed." No mention of me. I wanted to send my father a screenshot of the term sheet, just to prove, what? That I mattered? I closed Instagram instead. I didn't need his approval anymore. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't want him to see me win. In January 2024, the $850,000 from Sierra hit our account. We had a plan. Hire 4 people, 2 engineers, 1 marketer, 1 customer success manager. Expand features, add a tax optimization tool, integrate with property management software. Goal, $50,000 MRR by June, $100,000 MRR by December. I was officially promoted to CEO. James became CTO. Brenda stayed on as an advisor and board observer. Nathan said in our kickoff meeting, "You've proven you can build. Now let's scale." We weren't a side project anymore. We were a company, and I was running it. On March 15th, 2024, 18 months after I'd left Phoenix, I got an email from Tyler. It came at 9:32 p.m. Subject: Dad's retirement party. Body: Ella, Dad's retiring from Deloitte, April 20th. Big party at the office. Mom wants you there. She said it's been long enough. Don't make this weird, just show up. Tyler: No, how are you? No, sorry. No acknowledgement of the 18 months of silence. Just show up. I stared at the email for 11 minutes. Then I called Brenda. I read the email to Brenda over the phone. "Do you want to go?" she asked. "I don't know," I said. "Part of me wants him to see what I've built. Part of me wants to ghost him like he ghosted me." Brenda was quiet for a moment. "What would closure look like for you?" she asked. I thought about it. "Him knowing I didn't need him," I said. "And me not needing him to know." Go, Brenda said. Not for him, for you. Show up on your terms, then leave on your terms. I slept on it. By morning, I knew what I had to do. On March 16th at 11 a.m., I replied to Tyler's email. I'll be there. Ella. No elaboration. Tyler responded 4 hours later. Good. See you then. I didn't reply. I marked my calendar. April 20th, 2 p.m., Deloitte Phoenix office. I bought a plane ticket. $240 round trip, Denver to Phoenix. I booked a hotel, Hilton Garden Inn, 2 nights, $290. I wasn't staying with family. I wasn't going to beg for a seat at his table anymore, but I'd show him I didn't need one. On March 22nd, I made a decision. I was going to bring a check. Not just $6,760, the amount I'd borrowed. $95,000. Why? The original debt was $6,760. With 8% interest compounded over 18 months, it came to about $7,580. Call it $8,000 to be safe. But the rest? The other $87,000? That was for the pain, for the humiliation, for the 18 months of silence. It was symbolic. It was a statement. On March 28th, I ordered a cashier's check for $95,000. Memo line. Paid in full. We're even. James asked if I was sure. I'm not doing this to hurt him, I said. I'm doing this to free myself, completely. I'd never been more sure of anything. By mid-March, Property Pulse was thriving. $28,200 in monthly recurring revenue. 576 customers, a team of 7. My salary, $7,500 a month. My equity value, roughly $680,000 on paper. We'd even been mentioned in TechCrunch, a small blurb in a Roundup article. Denver's Property Pulse raises $850,000 for real estate analytics. Founder Ella Obannon bootstrapped the initial product before securing venture backing. I sent the link to Brenda. Not to my family. I wondered if my father read TechCrunch. Probably not. On April 19th, I woke up at 4 a.m. and caught a 6 a.m. flight from Denver to Phoenix. I sat in a window seat and read over my notes. What I'd say, what I wouldn't say. The plane landed at 8:20 a.m. I rented a car, a Nissan Altima, $68 a day, and drove to the hotel. I spent the afternoon walking around my old neighborhood. I didn't visit my old apartment. I didn't need to. For dinner, I went to In-N-Out, $9.50. I went to bed early. I was nervous. Tomorrow, I'd face him, not as his failure, as someone who survived him. I woke up at 8 a.m. on April 20th. I'd barely slept. I showered, dried my hair, and chose my outfit carefully. A navy blazer, a white blouse, black pants, heels. Professional, armor. I checked my purse. The cashier's check for $95,000 was inside, tucked into a small envelope. I practiced in the bathroom mirror. Hi, Dad. Congratulations on your retirement. I left the hotel at 12:45 p.m. The party started at 2 p.m. I drove to the Deloitte office on Camelback Road and parked at 1:40 p.m. Then I sat in my car for 20 minutes, breathing. You've built a company, I told myself. You've paid him back. You can walk into this room. Tyler's email had no apology, just, Mom wants you there. It's Dad's retirement party. Don't make it weird. At 2:02 p.m., I walked into the Deloitte Phoenix office. The conference center was on the 12th floor. A sign near the entrance read, Celebrating Gregory Obannon, 34 years of service. The room was full. Roughly 90 people, colleagues in suits, partners from the firm, some family members scattered throughout. My father stood in the center, surrounded by well-wishers. Tyler and Cassidy were near the bar. Tyler saw me first. He froze. I walked in confidently, my heels clicking on the tile. A few people glanced at me. Most didn't recognize me. A colleague said to my father, loud enough for me to hear, 34 years, Greg. You've earned this. Tyler whispered something to Cassidy. She looked at me like I was a ghost. Tyler walked quickly toward me and pulled me aside near the coat check. "You came," he said. "You invited me," I replied. He looked uncomfortable. "Yeah, but I didn't think you would. Listen, Dad doesn't know you're here. Maybe just say hi quietly. Don't make a scene." I looked at him calmly. "I'm not here to make a scene, Tyler," I said. "I'm here to close a chapter." He shifted his weight. "You look different. Good. Are you doing okay?" "I'm doing very well, actually." "Good," he said, clearly uncomfortable. "That's good." He looked at me like he didn't recognize me. Good. From 2:15 to 2:45 p.m., I stayed on the periphery. I grabbed a sparkling water from the bar. I listened to the speeches. The Deloitte managing partner went first, praising my father. "Greg has always been a man of integrity, dedication, a true family man. His son Tyler, a brilliant engineer. Greg, you raised him right." My stomach twisted at the words, family man. Tyler was mentioned. I wasn't. My father still hadn't seen me. His back was to the entrance. Cassidy kept glancing at me. I waited. I felt the check in my purse. Heavy. Symbolic. Almost time. At 2:50 p.m., the speeches ended. People started mingling again. My father was at the bar talking to 3 colleagues. I walked up from the side and touched his shoulder. "Hi, Dad," I said. He turned. His face went through 3 expressions in 2 seconds. Shock, confusion, then something guarded. "Ella," he said, "you're here." The 3 colleagues sensed the tension and drifted away. Tyler watched from across the room, nervous. "Tyler said you might come," my father said stiffly. "I wasn't sure you'd actually show." "I wanted to congratulate you," I said. 34 years is impressive." He didn't hug me. I didn't expect him to. My father adjusted his tie. "So, Denver," Tyler said. "Yes," I said. "I've been there 18 months. "What are you doing there?" "Working. Building something." He smirked. "Another startup?" "Yes," I said calmly. "It's doing well." "Well," he said, the skepticism clear in his voice. "I hope it works out better than the last one." There was a pause. Then he said, "You still owe me, you know. You stopped paying after 12 months." I looked at him. "Actually," I said, "I paid in full, 12 payments, $542.17 each, plus extra to cover interest. Check your records." He blinked. He hadn't checked. He didn't know I'd paid. My father became defensive. "I must have missed the notifications." "You didn't miss them," I said. "You ignored them, every single one." Silence. "Well," he said, uncomfortable now, "if you paid, then we're square." "Not quite," I said. I reached into my purse and pulled out the envelope. I handed it to him. "Cashier's check," I said. $95,000. He opened the envelope and stared at the check. "What is this?" he asked, confused. "Paid in full," I said. "With interest, with everything. We're even now." He held the check like it might explode. My father's voice got louder. "Ella, this is ridiculous. I don't want your money. Where did you even get this?" People were starting to turn, starting to watch. I kept my voice calm and clear. "I earned it," I said. "I built a company. Property Pulse. We're venture-backed, profitable, and growing. I'm the CEO. That check represents the $6,000 you loaned me, plus 18 months of interest at 8%, plus $86,000 for the cost of being told I'd never stand on my own 2 feet." About 25 people were watching now. My father looked stunned. You can't just—" "I can," I said. "And I did. You wanted me to pay you back. I'm paying you back, in full. We're done." The room went silent, exactly like Fleming's Steakhouse, but this time I wasn't leaving. My father turned to the colleagues who were watching. "She's being dramatic," he said, flustered. "I helped her when she needed it. I'm proud she's doing well." I cut him off. Not loudly, but firmly. You didn't help me, I said. You invoiced me. At my birthday dinner, in front of 15 people. You told me I'd be 50 and still asking for handouts. You told me not to come back until I could stand on my own 2 feet. I pointed to the check in his hand. I'm standing, I said. And now I'm leaving. Congratulations on your retirement. I turned to walk away. He grabbed my wrist. Ella, wait, he said quietly, desperately. Don't do this here. I pulled my wrist back. Not aggressive, just firm. You did this here first, Dad, I said, at your birthday. Remember? He fumbled for words. I was trying to teach you responsibility. No, I said. You were trying to humiliate me. And it worked. But I survived it. I survived you. I looked him in the eyes. I don't need your approval, I said. I don't need your apology. I don't need you at all. And that's the freest I've ever felt. Tyler stepped forward. Ella, come on. I turned to Tyler. You told me not to make it weird, Tyler, I said. I'm not, I'm being honest. For the first time in this family, someone's being honest. Tyler looked defensive. I tried to help you that night. You offered to pay my debt to make Dad stop being embarrassed, I said. Not to help me. There's a difference. Tyler went silent. Cassidy, standing beside him, said quietly, She's right. Tyler looked at her, then at me. I didn't know it was that bad for you, he said. You didn't ask, I said. I looked at my father one last time. He was holding the check, still speechless. I turned to the room. I didn't yell. I just spoke clearly. My father once told me I'd never amount to anything, I said. I just handed him a check that proves otherwise, not because I needed to prove it to him, but because I needed to prove it to myself. I took a breath. If anyone here has ever been told you're not enough, you are. Build your life anyway. I walked toward the exit. The room was silent. Then a woman, maybe 50, one of my father's colleagues, started a slow clap. A few others joined. Not everyone, but enough. As I passed her, she said quietly, That took guts. Good for you. I handed him the check and said, Paid in full, with interest. We're even now. I reached my rental car at 3:18 p.m. I sat behind the wheel. My hands were shaking. Adrenaline. I cried for 8 minutes, not from sadness, from release. Then I breathed. I texted Brenda. I did it. I'm free. She replied instantly. Proud of you. Come home. I drove straight to the airport. I paid an $85 change fee to catch an earlier flight. I boarded the plane at 6:40 p.m. As the plane took off, Phoenix shrank below me. I didn't look back. I'd waited 18 months for that moment. It lasted 11 minutes. But it changed everything. Denver was home now. Phoenix was just a city I used to know. The week after the party, my father didn't call. Tyler texted me once, on April 23rd. That was intense. Dad's upset, but he cashed the check. I didn't reply. Brenda asked me how I felt. Lighter, I said. The fact that he cashed the check meant something. It meant the transaction was complete. No debt. Not moral, not financial. A few days later, Tyler texted again. He cashed it, donated $50,000 to his college, kept the rest. He won't talk about you. I stared at the message for a long time. He cashed it, which meant he knew I was serious. Good. In May 2024, Property Pulse hit $42,000 in monthly recurring revenue, 857 customers. We hired 2 more engineers. I was officially listed in our marketing materials as CEO founder. TechCrunch ran a follow-up article. Bigger this time. Property Pulse on track for $500,000 ARR, Eyes Series A. They interviewed me. I mentioned that I'd bootstrapped in Denver after a personal setback. I didn't name my family. The quote they ran, I built this because I needed to prove to myself that failure isn't final. It's just data. Someone sent the article to Tyler. He didn't forward it to me. On June 8th, I got an unexpected DM on Instagram from Cassidy, Tyler's fiancée. Hi Ella, I just wanted to say, what you did took courage. I've seen how your dad talks to Tyler sometimes. It's not the same, but I get it. I'm sorry you went through that. I hope you're doing well. Cassidy. I was surprised. I replied, thank you. That means a lot. I hope you and Tyler are happy. She responded, we are. And I think he's realizing some things. Slowly. Then. You deserved better. I hope you know that. It wasn't an apology from my family, but it was acknowledgement. I'd take it. In late June, Brenda and I had dinner at Rioja, a nice restaurant in Denver. We were celebrating. Property Pulse was in early talks for a Series A round. A year ago, Brenda said, you were paying your father back in installments and sleeping 4 hours a night. Now you're fielding acquisition offers. How do you feel? I thought about it. I feel like I finally own my story, I said. He doesn't get to write my ending anymore. Brenda raised her glass. To the daughter who became a CEO. To the woman who freed herself. I clinked my glass against hers. I didn't need him to say he was proud. I needed me to know I was enough. In October 2024, 6 months after the retirement party, I got a voicemail from my father. He'd called from a different number, his office line, so it bypassed my block. It showed up as a Phoenix area code. I listened. Ella, it's your father, the message started. His voice was stiff, awkward. I saw the article. TechCrunch. I didn't know your company was doing that well. Tyler showed me. I wanted to say, I'm glad you're successful. You proved me wrong. I don't know if you want to talk, but call me if you do. Okay, bye. The voicemail was 1 minute and 18 seconds long. I listened to it 3 times. Then I waited 2 days, and I deleted it. I talked to James about it. Are you going to regret not calling him back? He asked. No, I said. I'd regret calling him back for the wrong reasons. Here's the thing. My father didn't apologize. He acknowledged that I'd succeeded. That's not the same. He wants back in now that I'm worth something. But I don't need his validation. I needed it 18 months ago when I was broken. I built myself without him. I don't owe him a relationship. Some bridges you burn, some you just stop maintaining. This was the latter. In January 2025, 28 months after I'd left Phoenix, Property Pulse was stronger than ever. $85,000 in monthly recurring revenue, a team of 18 people. We'd closed our Series A, $3.2 million, led by Sierra Ventures and a new investor. My equity, roughly $1.1 million on paper. Diluted, but growing. My salary, $115,000 a year. We had a real office now, in Denver's Rhino district. I stood in front of my team at a quarterly meeting and said, we're not building a unicorn, we're building something sustainable, something we're proud of. That's the win. I didn't need him to see me win, but I'm glad I got to show him anyway. On January 15th, 2025, Tyler reached out again. Dad asks about you sometimes, wants to know if you're okay. I told him you are. Are you? It was the first text I'd answered in months. I'm more than okay, but I'm not ready to let him back in. Maybe someday. Not today. Tyler replied, I get it. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. I didn't see it then. I see it now. I paused, then typed, thank you. That helps. He sent one more message. You deserved better from all of us. I replied, yeah, I did. But I gave myself better. That's what matters. I didn't forgive him completely, but I didn't hate him either. I just moved on. A few days later, I wrote a post on LinkedIn. It was vulnerable, public, and it went semi-viral. 8,200 likes, 340 comments. 2 years ago, my father handed me an invoice at his birthday dinner and told me I'd never stand on my own 2 feet. Last week, Property Pulse crossed $1 million ARR. This isn't a revenge story. It's a reminder. The people who doubt you don't get to define you. Build your life anyway. You don't need their permission. You need your own belief. The post ended. I didn't build this to prove him wrong. I built it to prove myself right. 3 people from Deloitte Phoenix liked the post. My father wasn't one of them. It's February 2026 now. I'm 33 years old. Last month, Property Pulse was acquired by a mid-size prop tech firm for $8.7 million. After taxes and dilution, my cut was roughly $1.8 million. I'm staying on as president for 2 years. My salary, $185,000, plus stock options in the acquiring company. I don't talk to my father. Maybe I will someday. Maybe I won't. But I'm okay either way. I don't need closure from him. I created my own closure. I showed up. I paid him back. I set my boundary. The rest is his work to do, not mine. 2 years ago, I walked out of a restaurant with $127 in my bank account and a father who told me I'd never make it. Today, I'm a millionaire, a CEO, a woman who rebuilt herself from the ground up. I didn't do it for revenge. I did it for me. And if you're reading this because someone in your life told you that you weren't enough, listen to me. You are enough. You've always been enough. Build your life anyway. Disappear from their narrative. Show up in your own. I didn't need him to say he was proud. I needed me to know I was enough. And I do. I finally do.